Hello, this is Cheryl, and I'm so grateful you're joining me today. Trust that this safe and loving space is exactly where you are meant to be, to ignite your higher self and empower you in this very moment in time. There are no coincidences, so trust the nudges that call to you. As I open, channel, and share today's light-filled conversation, take what resonates with you and leave the rest. We are all working to uncover the truths that will serve us on our unique journeys. Each new day brings discovery, and this truth is always empowering, illuminating, and available to us. Now is your moment to deepen your spiritual connection. If it's light, it's right. Hello and welcome to another episode of If It's Light, It's Right. Today's episode, I feel like it's one of maybe spiritual mystery, maybe something that is going to be a new experience for you. We're going to talk about mission entities and mystical travelers. And I have to say, too, I find this topic very interesting. And like you, I am always learning, seeking, finding out more answers. And I strongly encourage you to do the same. So when we open, we see more and more and more. So what supports these topics, mission entities and mystical travelers? Well, they're highly evolved souls that journey to the earth with a specific lighted purpose. So what we'll talk about today is I'm going to start us on the other side because there's a really important placeholder, a starting aspect to move into defining deeper what a mission entity and a mystical traveler are, what they have in common. And then my share today is an exciting share. I remember being so excited spiritually to be given this experience. So in spirit, I met a mystical traveler, but I saw with my human eyes. So I'm going to describe and tell you how that came to be. And again, if you listen to my podcast, you know how excited spiritually and humanly I get when I see spirit with my human eyes, because I see them constantly in my mind's eye, but my human eyes are very special to me when I see them humanly. So let's begin on the other side. We're on the other side. And again, I always speak from my spiritual perspective. There, we're observing, we're learning, we're growing, right? The ascension that we've earned both on this walk of a journey, when we decide to incarnate, even our work on the other side builds our ascension. It builds our growth. It perfects our souls for God. And so I will always say, too, that our ascension goals get achieved more deeper on the earth's plane than on the other side, because the earth's plane has so much adversity, so much strong emotion that ascension and growth are really put to trial. But it is truly the whole reason why we choose to come to the earth's plane. And when we talk about mission entities and mystical travelers, that's going to be an important component to kind of keep in your spiritual pocket. So our current soul is that standing collection on the other side, right? So when we choose to move to the other side and we reside, maybe some loved ones are on there residing, where I've moved in my ascension steps, ascension growth gets maintained, right? I am a collection of that summary. And so that is where we are on the other side. And what happens is we receive from the other side the work and the journey in earth and all the other dimensions. We see everything in complete clarity on the other side. And we have no competition or judgment. There's no jealousy. We understand where we are, what we still need to work on should we choose to incarnate again, what our journeys were on this earth's plane and other dimensions. Right? We don't talk about other dimensions too often, but there are other dimensions. None as difficult because of the emotional voyage that we have on this walk. But there are other dimensions. And so, well, again, our ascension, our growth are all a summary of. And so what I need to also mention on the other side is we also see what the earth needs, right? Because the earth truly is a reflection of the other side. It truly is a reflection, and we, on the other side, easily see and note what changes are needed. And in terms of inventions or innovations, tech improvements, health breakthroughs, understanding that more love and kindness needs to come into play. What does the earth need in order to grow in beauty and love? And so when we're on the other side, there is so many different, call it almost moving parts, right? Spirits on the other side can send thoughts to not loved ones, but send thoughts to specific spirit, humans that are in this journey, right? Give them thoughts, give them understanding of what next steps could be, right? Because they're working it all on this side. Or maybe they choose to incarnate to be that agent of that invention or push forward that innovation that needs to happen for A, B, and C for the earth to do better, be better. Right? All those pieces are noted on the earth side. We don't just come in to the earth's plane and say, all right, let's see what we can do here. It is all beautifully noted on the other side. And specific and noted steps happen for reasons of lighted purpose to make things better or lighter or kinder or more loving, right? That is not by chance happenings. And again, very much the foundation to what we'll be talking about today. And I have to also remind you on the other side, your free will is at complete play as it is for your entire eternity, right? Free will was granted us from God, from source, from our divineness at the time of creation. And we carry that endlessly in any journey that we choose. On the other side, other dimensions, Earth's journey is it always resonates inside of us. So when we're preparing to incarnate and we're preparing paths or blueprints or whatever word that seeks comfort with you, we also know that we have karma and lessons that we are going to face and learn, because that is part of our ascension. That's part of our growth. That's part of how in knowing what we will encounter in this lifetime. We choose that, right? But now I move us in a little different aspect, because the most spirits, right, myself being included, um, have all those pieces, everything that we spoke about. But now I'm going to take just a slight step up, because there are certain spirits that are highly ascended, right? That that their evolution sometimes is near perfection. And I have to just note that with my my spiritual belief, I I don't believe any spirit is perfect other than God. I think there's near perfection in all different nuances and shades of that. But in my belief, and maybe I'll move to change that belief as I grow and learn more, and that never ends. But I choose to say that they're near perfection, because I don't feel in my heart at this time in my soul's journey that there is perfection other than God or divine or source. And so there are highly ascended, evolved, near perfection souls that come in prepare as soldiers of change for our earth's journey. They come to help. And they come as an evolution, to bring kindness or love or deep needed aspects of earth. And they come unselfishly, purposefully. And that is what a mission entity and a mystical traveler is. And we will get to them in just a second. We'll be right back after short break. Let's start with a mission entity. And again, these are broad strokes, right? These are broad art strokes. So open to your interpretation, right? My truth is your truth. We don't have a differing truth. We just might have a differing way of understanding it. So again, not with any rules, but open to what feels light and right for you as well as I talk, and trust your downloads, trust what comes with you. So a mission entity, they're not saints. I can't clearly define what a saint is in my thoughts or in my spiritual piece. Maybe that'll be an episode in the future. But they're not saints as we would interpret them. They're very evolved souls without a full plan of karmic aspect to forge through. Right? They're not coming for themselves. They're coming for a goodness, more. I have to say there is a little bit of karmic that has to come through, and I'll explain that as we kind of move through this, but not a full plan of karmic. Eh, They have, they're not perfect, right? They're just highly evolved. They do still have lessons to learn or experience. They do have some karma, much smaller amounts than the average incarnated spirit as you and I, but they do have karma. And they arrive into this lifetime running forward with their lighted intent to accomplish. They hit the ground running. They're highly impactful almost from the start. And they're generally noted as something special at an early age. Their parent spirit is full aware of the alliance they agreed upon because they're coming for that support, right? They're going to be that, because we do choose our biological moms and dads. So they're coming for that support of what that mission entity is coming in to give Earth, to give humans, to give experience in whatever scale that they come in. But they also will come in with a conscious mind of being asleep. Remember, no matter where we are on our evolution, there is an aspect of forgetting. And we've talked about this very often in these episodes, that we can be like absolutely fully asleep. I live, I die, I go in the ground, and nothing else comes, right? Like just that really cut and dry, there's nothing here. And so many different levels to that enlightened or awakened place, right? And where we're talking about mission entities and mystical travels, you're certainly on the other realm of that, right? Or at least the curious piece of it. If it's not something that builds repertoire in your spiritual understandings, and that's okay. That's okay, right? That's beautifully okay. But a parent comes in, their spirits are aware of what's coming into them, this agent of change of sort, and they have the changes that a mission entity can make can be very large scale and very small scale by the collective Earth experience. And let me just give you a couple of quick examples to show the difference. On a large scale, and there's not a lot to say with this large scale mission entity that I was given as an example, is Princess Diana. Princess Diana is remembered for breaking barriers of stigma and her global platform and champion AIDS awareness. And she supported the homeless and the sick, especially children. She just beautiful children, and her landmine campaigns. And she gave a lasting humanitarian legacy of compassion and advocacy, right? Everyone admired Princess Diana, but certainly she came in with karmic aspects that she needed to work through. And she was such a public figure that I don't need to go into a lot of detail with that. But again, she was here as an agent of change. She hit the ground running. She was born into royalty, right? Married into royalty, which escalated that reach that she could achieve. And now let me just give you an example of a small scale mission entity. I'm going to use an experience that I've had and seen and been told about a young boy. I'm going to name him John. And while in utero, there was a detection of heart issue in utero. And when John was born, it was apparent that there was a major heart defect issue, the touch and go at a very early age, many, many surgeries, smiling, loving, giving his beautiful parents, again, that took on this responsibility of change, of bringing this beautiful life, this mission entity into this world. And John's struggle and his parents asking and giving hope and life and his throughout his whole small amount of journey, because John did not live past, I'm trying to remember, 7 or 8 years old. I don't recall specifically. And John, with all his trials and tribulations and his many surgeries, touch and go, many of them, transplant and conversation, and all those pieces that just make his work and people that looked at his work with such sympathy, right? Empathy, sympathy, sadness, poor parents, all those emotions that come into play purposefully because of the scale that John wanted to create in this world, right? To make his mark, to help the earth, to help you maybe resonate, loving your children, seeking children's help, adoption, wherever he, in his small journey, moved on, was part of his legacy. And John, his passing was a quiet passing. It was not one of in the throes of a difficult surgery. He was living and breathing a beautiful day, and then the next moment he was gone, at home, in a very non-traumatic way, in a sense, because of he just passed. Devastating for the family, absolutely devastating for the family. But again, John, being this mission entity, and his parents spiritually understanding their almost responsibility in their promoting his beautiful, loving, smiling throughout all his trauma, in making a foundation in his honor, moving forward with the technology of heart awareness, and moving forward in such a great scale, to great people that moved his messages on as it was intended. In choosing to move home at such a young age to really accent the devastation of his life from a human aspect, but again, to polarize it as a spiritual event of an awakening, of an aha, of a I can do better in my life. I and in the technology. And again, I could go on and on about his small, beautiful, wonderful life and the beauty that his parents supported in his honor. But John came for that change. He, as I said, hit the ground running, having right in utero, and thereon, and his legacy and his touch is still so apparent so many years later. So again, that's an example of a smaller scale, because the area that I live in the Boston area, that was big, but many parts of the country wouldn't even know of John's tribute to mankind and humanity, right? But it made a difference, right? So they don't all have to be large scale. There are mission entity souls that make very small and significant changes. And remember, it's a ripple effect that they're working on, right? For me to now share with you, do you see how that beautiful lighted ripple effect moves? It moves. So again, kindness and love is really their quintessential message. And sometimes, again, they move also in his case, technology and an awareness and help for other families that have went through what he and his family went through. A mystical traveler will be part of my share, as I talked about in my Human Eyes, which I get such spiritual chills, truth bumps. I call those truth bumps when you get those in context, when I remember and I see it again. So a mystical traveler is much more rare than a mission entity. And why? Because they're much more evolved. They're almost near perfection. They're as close to perfection in my spiritual understanding and belief that is possible. They're that perfect, or near perfection, as the beginning of the episode explained. Their lifespan is markedly short. So their lifespan is, they have a lifespan that's purposeful. It's either very short or very long, extended, because that raises the awareness, like, why him? Why is it he just began or she just began in A, B, and C, or very long, expanded, and they had to endure all those hardships and challenges for this long. Again, they're marked for reasons. It's purposeful. Whether it's a shorter or a longer, it accents what they came here to offer to us. Because we need to be and they also, because they're so near perfection, they're so light, they have much less karmic aspects, if very much any, truly. And that being so light that it's almost like they kind of remember home so much deeper than any. And when we can remember home, it makes this journey very difficult, right? And that's one of the main reasons why we come here to forget. We come here to forget because it would be so... stretch your spiritual thinking here for a second. If we were reminded of home and the eternal peace and love and tolerance and none of this ick, why would we be here? Can you imagine how difficult that would be in our day-to-day? Why? Right? And we wouldn't be able to tackle what we came for. So these mystical travelers who have very little karmic residue, they remember home deeply, right? But they come with specific agendas, right? Specific plans, not of karmic. They're just like mission entities. They don't come with a lot of karmic push. And in fact, mystical travelers have very little karma here. They come with the pureness of intent to do and give us what we need. But they do often give themselves challenges of hardships to remind their human vehicle that they are human. Stay with me for a second. Just think, and I know I can speak for myself too, when I'm not feeling well, sick or tired or headache or just blah, I'm going to just throw out that word. I think everybody can relate to that. It is a lot more difficult to move into spirit because that human ego hold has me pretty tight. And that's purposeful to keep me grounded into this earth. So when a mystical traveler comes in who is like a balloon, just light as light is, they need something to hold them down, to keep them grounded for what they came here to do. So that grounding is very often a hardship or significant challenge, not only to give us that aspect of, wow, this is, how can they do this? Or how, it is also how they exist on this earth plane and not just go, I'm going back home. So again, that is a big aspect too, that generally the large scale mystical travelers, and my share is more of a smaller scale mystical traveler, that has been around quite a bit. But I'm going to talk about the large scale in just a second. But they're humble. Their existence is humble because kindness needs to be constantly observed. And they usually have a grander existence to reach many, just like Princess Diana as an example for mission entity. Mystical travels sometimes, again, have that grander existence, that large scale for us to aha that. So one I'd like to give you, one example would be Mother Teresa. And again, I'm going to give you another example too. And they're very, very grand figures, right? They don't need a lot of explaining. And maybe you're even just over there going, yep, that makes sense. Yep. So Mother Teresa dedicated her life to serving the poorest and most vulnerable, right? She embodied that compassion and humanity through her work with the sick, the orphan, and the dying around the world. Selfless, lived humbly, didn't live lavishly, just gave, just gave. Again, the earmark of a near perfected soul, a mystical traveler. Another mystical traveler that I was given is one that moved technology into a new realm, right? Mother Teresa, her humanity with a capital H was undeniable, right? The person I'm going to give you has certainly humanity, but in a different reach, and that's Stephen Hawking. He expanded humanity and understanding of the universe by revolutionizing theories of black holes and cosmology, while inspiring millions through his perseverance. And this is that challenge that he lived with that was given to him, I believe, like right when he was around 30, right? ALS. ALS, which is a crippling challenge and hardship, and one that most don't live long on this earth's plane with, but he did. And that was like almost an accent piece to, wow, what a human being. He is crippled in his human body, but his mind is impeccable. His reach was far reaching in what he gave us with the theories in the technology and the ascension in our change of the earth's look, and that breakthrough, that significant breakthrough, was his commitment as a mystical traveler to make science accessible to all of us. Right? So those are two large-scale mission travelers, mystical travelers, excuse me, that really, when you open to your truths, see what feels light and right for you. So what do the mission entities and the mystical travelers, what do they have in common? Well, their lifespan that they choose, right? Because they do choose their lifespan. They do prepare to incarnate. Not as much as we do because of their karmic aspect, but their lifespan have meaning with the lengths and the humanity views that, right? Like when they pass early, isn't that awful? Isn't that tough? When they live a long life, especially with Stephen Hawking, even Mother Teresa, how they existed for that long under those circumstances, right? What a life, what a tribute. So their lifespans are meaningful, and they both come for all different types of advances on the earth. Some come for causes or compassion, like Mother Teresa or Princess Diana. Some come for technology with compassion, right? To accentuate life. And Stephen Hawkins came for both, right? You can live through a difficult biological human condition. And again, his brain was impeccably charged, and just the awe of that. Right. And so sometimes they come with technology, but they're both agents of lighted change. And both mission entities and mystical travels encourage love and peace and research and developmental breakthroughs that began on the other side. Their thought and their progress and their whole plan began on the other side, and they came in to what was needed. Needed. They were those soldiers of change, right? They come to help change the attitudes and the spiritual plane that needs existence here on this earth's plane. They lived purposeful and lighted lives. And they were always aware of what they needed to be done. Their path, their spiritual being was always in control because spirit was leading the way because of their highly evolved ascensions. Their spirit was always in control, where we, more the common spirits incarnating, are working through that push and pull, right? And we're all at different levels, and never with judgment. So when we come back, I'm going to walk you on my journey of meeting in spirit a mystical traveler. I'll be right back. It was about, I want to say 8 to 10 years ago. And I learned, I had a colleague that I worked with, and a horrible experience he had. His wife's brother and sister-in-law had passed away very, very abruptly. And so this man is where I want to pocket that mystical traveler kind of bookmark on. He was a humble man. She had no children. He was deeply devoted to the church and service of the church. He was, I believe, late 30s at the time, so on the younger side. And he lived quietly, giving money and clothes and shelter and helping all those people around him. And at the beach one day, he was caught in a riptide. And this was how it was explained to me from the colleague in that devastating day. And he was brought out to the riptide, and his wife followed, trying to save him. And devastatingly, from a human view, they both drowned. They both were pronounced deceased on the beach. They were never revived. And that devastation was very spiritually profound. It was a very profound experience because of what I felt when he was telling me. I had never met this man. I had never, I heard very little about his brother-in-law at the time. But at the time that he started explaining, of course, the family was going through extreme devastation. His wife was absolutely distraught, understandably. And what he was saying as he was talking, my colleague, that at the time of his passing, the church and all the followers and all, they were coming up with these stories of his selflessness, of the good deeds that he did that they had no idea about, that he humbly kept quiet, and his wife as well. And they just lived this life of true giveness, of true passing love and kindness in abundance to all that either came or they walked towards. And that was the love that came through as he talked about this man. And I felt a profound experience that I needed to walk more towards in my spiritual journey. So when I walked and moved towards it in my meditation and my many, many, many questions with spirit, and finding understanding with this unspeakable, devastating act, um, I didn't, I was never on board with the human view of, oh, this is awful. I can't believe this happened to this man at this age. What an awful, not that it wasn't awful. I don't mean it in that way, but I see things spiritually. I know that we choose our passing. I know that we choose it in a loving way. So I walked to investigate spiritually that vein. And I felt felt I needed to walk there. I needed to learn. I needed to experience. I needed to understand. And so, another aspect that was very interesting to me. It's a little side, but I feel I feel I need to accent it. His wife, because I asked Spirit, why would the wife have to leave at the same time? Why did she choose to leave at the same time where his passing would have been devastating enough? She could have continued the goodness he did. I had all those kind of feelings and thoughts spiritually. And then I was told that their meeting and their togetherness was divine, that they were meant to be together. And sometimes that's not uncommon to be connected with a soul person that would help you on your journey. Sometimes it's marriage, sometimes it's children, sometimes it's parents. And in this case, they were to be together for that journey, for that purpose, and for her ascension. She was not a mystical traveler. She was a very, very lighted soul, awakened, enlightened, but not to his level. So she was to walk in his lighted shadow of sort, to learn, to ascend. It was her choice, and it was his choice to allow her to. And so, what was told to me is that her passing. We do choose specific points in our human life that we say we've learned enough and we're ready to go home. I use the word checkpoints for those, and that was a checkpoint. She knew of his passing in spirit. That was how he intended on passing, for that um, for that human view that would escalate the goodness that he did, right? To make a lighted exclamation point of sort, or to put him on the lighted pedestal that he did deserve in this lifetime, right? That he was taken away so early, and that was so wrong, and that's our human view, and that's perfectly fine if you want to sit there and stay in that space. There's no judgment on my end. Please know that. But my understanding and my spiritual belief is that we choose our passing, and he chose that. And she chose, and what was told to me is she could not live without him. She knew that her earth journey would be going backwards, and not sustaining the light that she had at that point. So she did choose to pass with him. And also to that coordination of the devastation of a husband and a wife, such good people together, passing at the same time, certainly would elevate the human view of sadness, of how could this be, looking inward. So I know that that's a side note, but I feel like that's very important to also put here. So now let me talk about my experience with this man, not with this man, but with this mystical traveler, because I did not see him as a man. I didn't know him as a man. I had one day I was driving down. I was a passenger in the car. My husband was driving, and I was driving down a highway, and I could see in the distance the shape of a man walking. A shape of a man walking, had a hoodie on, so could not see. I knew it was a man, or I felt it was a man by the shape or the feel, whatever that is. Full form, it wasn't a floating spirit. It was a walking spirit. Had a backpack on its back, so it was walking, and that backpack was very significant for me in my understanding of what I was seeing. Caught my eye purposefully, I know now. And so as I drove by, I I couldn't note human characteristics. Of course, when you're highway 2, so you're moving very fastly. Again, that's purposeful as well. And I remember saying, "This is something." I was awakened, I was enlightened. That was a period in my time where I was asking for experiences. And I looked back, and there was no spirit. I mean, there was no more shape. And I said, "What was that? Help me to understand," because I saw it. I know I saw it. And at that time, it resonated. It was that mystical traveler. It was the gift, I could get teary-eyed, which is truth, that he gave me, that he's back on his mission of sorts. I didn't investigate, and as I was writing this, I'm like, I should move to spiritually investigate if he's in this human journey again, or he just gave me the vision of I'm always traveling, I'm always moving, I'm always working in that lighted fashion. But it was one of the most beautiful experiences I got spiritually, because I could touch him. I certainly couldn't touch him, but I could touch him. My eyes made it concrete. And so it was a beautiful experience that I was given to accent my understanding, my learning, and continued learning on a mystical traveler and how they are God's agents, right? They are so highly evolved to help us to make our journeys better. Maybe for this journey, maybe for journeys to come, maybe again the ripple effect that I'm hoping that this episode gives you to continue that ripple, because we all come to this earthly journey to lighten our karmic paths and to leave the world a little better than we found it. But some souls are more evolved. They've done that deep work already and return not for their own ascension, but to serve us. Mission entities and mystical travelers are spiritual boots on the ground. They're here to spark change in ways most of us can only glimpse. Mission entities, though few compared to many souls who incarnate, carry a message and presence that rises above, marking them as agents of purposeful change. Mystical travelers are rarer still, more evolved, burning a brilliant and focused path of light wherever they walk. Their lives may be brief or extended, but always their intent is pure, their service humble, and their impact far-reaching. They bring what the earth needs most: compassion, breakthroughs, and the quiet kindness that change lives. Their single purpose is to help humanity grow, reminding us that we too walk with light here on earth. Spirit is in abundance, and lighted hands walk with us always. As we walk through our karma, we also carry their mission forward by choosing kindness, grace, and tolerance, lifting ourselves while uplifting others. Open to that truth. Feel its power. If it's light, it's right. Have a beautiful day. Thank you for allowing me to accompany you on your journey today. There's so much for us to explore and learn together. If there's a light-filled topic you're curious about, or if you just want to reach out, I'd love to connect. Follow me on social media at Cheryl Bradley Medium, or visit cherylbradley.com to explore my offerings and events. I hope today's episode has filled you with the light to carry with you until we meet again. And let the title of this podcast stay with you today and every day. If it's light, it's right. Blessings on your journey.